Hello, 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 dear folks. Welcome to season 7 of our On the Call series produced by the stars among us. I am Ozzy, and I'm very happy that you tuned into this thank you tour of mine. As you know, each episode is a thank you card to those who have impacted my life. And on this second episode of season 7, I'm shining light on Ken Schiff, Mr. Ken Schiff. Hello, Ken.
Hello, Miss Stewart.
So Ken and I go back some years. I think as far back as what? Maybe 2005, 6, 7? Do you remember how long ago?
I was trying to think about when we and how we first met, and it was on a photo shoot on a
Correct.
TV, right? With Ed One, and I was producing for them, and then you were there as talent.
Yes.
And that's how we met. And, I was instantly attracted to your vibe, and we've become friends since then. I wound up starting to shoot on the streets of New York City.
When you were photographing or taking pictures of people on the streets, was it with the intent of working with models, or was it just taking pictures to put together a portfolio?
I just needed to put together a portfolio of imagery to present, to be accepted, like I said, which I did. And once I got out of SVA, along with a friend of mine, we actually opened up a small studio in what is now Union Square, and we started photographing rock and roll bands. Just nobody famous or anything, of course, because we were just getting our feet wet. So we had a little studio, and we started shooting local bands. I ran into this lovely lady in a bookstore, and I was looking for. I was kind of into astrology back then as well. This is back. I'm going back into the '60s now. I'm dating myself. This is like. This was probably like 67, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this bookstore, and I see this very attractive young lady, and I immediately kind of assumed that she was an employee of the bookstore. I think it might have been where the Strand was now. It might have still been the Strand back then. Mm-hmm. Sure. So I went up I was looking for a book, an astrology book called Heaven Knows What. So I walked up to this young lady who I didn't know at all and just said, Heaven Knows What? Figuring, that I'd start off with that. She looked at me like I was from another planet. But anyway, we started going out. She turned out that she was a model and an actress. And she was in the city working on a film. So we started dating and hanging out and all that. One thing went to another, and we started getting a little bit more serious about it. And then she winds up telling me that she's going back to London to work on another film, and do I want to go? And I said, well, why not? So that took us to boarding the QE1, which was I believe its last crossing of the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. And I'm now, I'm still a young pup, and I'm just like open for whatever's going to go down my way. So we're talking and hanging out and so on and so forth. And then she tells me that she was studying Scientology. For those of you that are not familiar with it, check it out. It's quite interesting. So she's going back to London to take part on. They had a boat anchored in the Aegean Sea, and she was going back to London to work on a film and then go on this boat to live on this boat with 300 of the Scientology's best friends. This was this was when L. Ron Hubbard, maybe people would think the name. One day I'm in her flat, and she tells me that she's been doing some reading with the Scientologists, and she's read that having orgasms. Yes, I did say that, having orgasms, and they're detrimental to your health. And she said, since I know that you were looking forward to, like, you know, having sex, making love all the way across the Atlantic, I thought that, you know, you might not want to go now, since I am, you know, not going to be available to you in that way. So, of course, I did one of my Linda Blair things, and, you know, my head went on a swivel. I think I'm going to go anyway. I mean, I already got my ticket. I'm not going to. We're going. I'm in a cabin with her, and I thought, there's no way. There's no way she's going to adhere to this all the way across the ocean. Change your mind. I mean, after all, you know, come on. So anyway, she didn't, and now we're like a day out of Britain, and we're landing first in Le Havre in France, and then we go over to Southampton in the UK. So, and we have to now go through customs. I'd never been anywhere in my life before this. You know, I think I went to Florida when I was in, you know, high school. The Florida migration thing, like. We're now faced with customs, and they're asking her all these questions about the Scientologists, and I found out later that Scientology was almost kind of banned in England. It was very people that was studying kind of persona non grata, and so they looked through her baggage, and she's got all this paraphernalia about Scientology. So and then on top of that, they ask her what the purpose of her trip is here, and it turned out that she said, "Well, I'm coming over to work on a film." Well, where are your work papers? Well, I don't have any. We're not letting you off the boat, and nothing you can do. She's going to have to now get off the boat in France, go to Paris, have her model agency or talent agency apply for working papers so she could at least get landed in London, because she's maintained a flat there. And now she's not able to get off the boat. I'm on the boat, and they're asking me all sorts of questions about, you know, what I'm doing. I said, well, I'm a photographer, but we're not working.
So now you're on the boat and she's off the boat?
Right, I'm on the boat. They're about to go through my bags, because I didn't know anything about customs and drugs and anything. Meanwhile, my suitcase is full of drugs, because you know, come on, this was like the '60s, and you know, I was at the forefront of all those things. And I'm thinking to myself, they start going through my suitcase. I've got water pipes in there, and everything you could imagine, you know, that you shouldn't be having. I'm carrying that. But anyway, they never. I wound up going to London on my own. She gave me the keys to her flat, and she gave me the name of two photographers that she knew that she had worked with. One was a bloke from South Africa who was a fashion photographer named Malcolm Hart, and another guy called Al Vandenberg, who was an advertising photographer from New York City. So here I was with the name of two photographers that I didn't know. In meeting these two photographers, set me on a course that would have basically changed my entire life. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Malcolm was a photographer, a fashion photographer. Al was more of a kind of people photographer. He would be kind of shooting on the street. So I decided to try to become a street photographer. And what Al gave me like 20 rolls of film, because I really didn't have any film, and I really didn't have a lot of money then. I started shooting people on the street. And it turned out that I had a kind of a knack for being able to shoot people, make them feel comfortable, get a little bit out of them, but also having to give something of myself back to them, because I was taking something from them, make somebody feel good, you know. So I started walking around the streets of London and shooting pictures. Then Malcolm had just come back from Nepal, which is, you know, above India, between India and Tibet. And he came back with a plethora of beautiful photographs that really kind of struck me. And I said, oh, this is a place that I need to go to. So I packed my stuff up. I went back to New York City and then closed my studio down. Sold half of my studio to my partner. Jumped on a plane. Back then, they were what they called they were very inexpensive airfares back then in the '60s. So you could basically jump on a plane for like $100 round trip and go to London and back, which I did. So I came back, decided that I was going to take myself to the Far East and see what happens. And that's where it was. I wound up going to I wound up flying from London to New Delhi, India. And at first I thought I would do like a Volkswagen bus trip, you know, across the continent. And then I suddenly thought maybe that's not the coolest thing to be doing, you know, being a solo and person from America. Even back then, America didn't have a great reputation in Europe and the world. So I didn't want to put myself in a position where I would have to be too confrontational. So I thought flying would be easier and get me there, since that was my goal, was to get to Kathmandu. Why bother going through Afghanistan and all these other places and possibly getting myself in trouble? So I jump on a plane, I go to Kathmandu. I mean, I get off the plane in Delhi, meet this young Indian guy, and he was also going to Kathmandu. So we traveled together up to Nepal by train. And I wound up staying in Kathmandu for 6 months. I lived there for 6 months.
Wow.
And my photography blossomed then, because I also found it interesting that when you're someplace and you don't necessarily speak the language, you have to find a way to communicate with people. Now, today, with digital, it's much easier, but back then, they didn't know what a camera was. You know, I didn't have any Polaroids or anything like that to be able to show them. So I just went all the way around. I trekked in the Himalayas, which is probably the most amazing place I've ever been to, and would love to go back again someday. 22 years old.
How old were you?
Yeah, I was about 22 actually.
Okay. Wow.
Went there, went to Thailand, went to Malaysia, and unfortunately, I contracted hepatitis in Nepal, which didn't manifest itself until I was in Malaysia. I wound up getting up one morning and looking in the mirror, and my eyes were all yellow. And I was like, what the hell is this? So it was like either I stayed in Malaysia and went into hospital there, or I came back to London, where at least I was more comfortable with whatever treatment they were going to prescribe for me. So I wound up back in London, stayed there for a few years now. Came back to America.
How did you meet Christy Turlington? How did that happen?
Yeah, that was 1983.
Mm-hmm.
And I was now living in Miami. My folks had an apartment in Florida, and I had just gotten married. Also, I married an English girl in London. So we wound up together in Miami. It was 83. I was starting to shoot fashion now. Still doing the photojournalism thing. I'm working for Miami Magazine at the time. Right now, freelancing, shooting stories for them, doing covers and all that. And I was sitting in my studio one day, and one of the premier talent agencies in Miami, Michelle Pommier, who was also an ex-model, started and opened up a model agency, and we got to be friendly. And she said to me, I want to send this girl over to you, because I was doing a lot of beauty back then, as well as fashion. And she said, I'm going to send this girl over to you. Her name is Christy Turlington. And I want you to tell me what you think. You know, you think she has any potential or whatever. I said, sure, send her over. So she comes into the studio one afternoon with her mom. Turns out that they actually lived right around the corner from me. Her father was a pilot. So we started talking, and I was giving her the lowdown, the blow by blow about the business and how hard it is and how terrible it is and how unforgiving it is. I was trying to be as negative as I could possibly be. I don't even know why, but I was. So I was just about to dismiss her. She had taken some pictures with a guy called Denny Cody, who was another photographer in Miami. He was only 14 years old then.
Mm.
But there was something that I saw in her when I put the loop on her slides, on her pictures.
Mm-hmm.
There was one picture there where she was photographed like from from the side, from an angle, you know, and it struck me like I was like, oh my God, this girl is like amazing, you know. She's like I don't think she's got like a bad side to her, you know. She had the perfect nose, the perfect lips, the perfect neck. So I wound up bringing her into the studio just to do a test. The pictures came out and they were absolutely drop dead phenomenal. And then about 2 weeks later, I got an assignment to shoot an American Express cover I said to the art director, I said, I've got it was a profile. That's the word I was looking for. Mm-hmm. The sketch, the layout of the story and the cover especially called for a strong profile picture of a model. I said, well, I've got the perfect girl for you. So I booked Christy, and we did that, and then we photographed a couple of jobs after that, and then Michelle one day decided that she was going to send her up to Eileen Ford in New York, and so she sent Christy. Yeah, that was it. That's exactly right. She walked into Eileen's office, and Eileen just was like, after that, I mean, that's when she was part of the Fab Four model agency, girl model with Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell and all those hot tamales. Mm-hmm. Long time.
How long was it? After that, that you became involved in the commercial editing and that other side of the business?
Again, just kind of connections, right time, right place, that kind of thing.
And then yet you fell in love with this side as well. Whereas before you were doing more, the front aspect of stuff. Now you're doing the finals and the edits and you fell in love with this aspect as well.
It seemed to make sense to be able to encompass and be well versed in all aspects of the business, and the fact that I had a good eye translated to my being a cameraman. I started making my own films. But what I wound up doing was I wound up hiring the right people to do the right job, which helped because I was able to then concentrate on producing the entire shoot, but I didn't have to worry about the camera because I hired a good cameraman, and we hired the best people that we possibly could.
Was that always under the Mad Max Enterprises? So I always loved that name, Mad Max.
I guess it had something to do with the Mad Max movies.
Before you go there, I just have to say something. I want to say that this podcast is brought to you guys, my audience, by Sugar Camp Productions, which is an award-winning video production company located in the West Village of New York. What sets them apart is their expertise in post-production, editing, and 3 Avid systems on site. Amazing client list. They continue to work with PR, marketing, and communications companies located in New York City. What are you most proud of in your career and life?
I think of being able to capture an image, and I could look back on photographs that I took 30 years ago and put myself back exactly in that spot in that time as it was back then. So that was always kind of cool.
Well, I've been wanting to speak with you for a while. I wanted to have you on for a bit, and I'm so happy that I have you now. And I'm so happy to have known you. You bring me I have fond memories of you. And it's always been so great that we have this way of being so relaxed in speaking with one another. I can just be me and say what I need to say, and so are you. And there's this particular type of connection I always felt that we had, we have, not had, have. It was important for me to have you on, and I'm really happy that you're on. And as well as I want to say to my audience that thank you very, very much for spending your valuable time with us and learning about Ken Shipp, who has done so much and traveled, oh my gosh, so much in his life. And probably not unbeknownst to him, has also not only put Christy Turlington on the map, but I'm sure a number of other people. And so please care to share. And remember, when you're on the beat, stay on the sunny side of the street safely, be health conscious and kind to one another. And don't forget to give thanks for the little and the big gifts.
Amen.
Your past. Never heard some of these stories. I was very engaged. Thank you. All right. Love you too.
Take care. Thank you. Hope I didn't bore you guys.
Not at all. You've been wonderful. Thank you so much. Talk soon.
Yes.
Okay, babe.
Hey there. Please help us in our mission to support those facing fatal diseases through our t-shirt sales by donating or shopping at aussiestewart.com or supporting us at anchor.fm/AussieStewart. That's anchor.fm/AussieStewart. And don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel at Aussie Stewart. Yep. Leave a comment.